Very good morning, dear children. Children, today we are going to start our history chapter 4, Tribals, Decus, and the Vision of a Golden Age. So, children, as the topic says, the name of the chapter says, tribal are the people who lives in tribe, who live in forests, fine, and Decus are the outsiders. Decus are known as the outsiders. And here we are talking about whom? Who are the outsiders here? The Britishers. Fine. And the vision of a golden age. And how these tribal people, they, they take a dream. They used to see a dream of golden age. When will this golden age come? When we will be free from the British rule. So, this is the topic. Fine. In 1895, children, a man whose name was Birsa was seen roaming in the forests and villages of Chota Nagpur in Jharkhand. Fine. Now, people used to say that he had some miraculous powers. Fine. And that he can cure all diseases, he can multiply the grains. So, all these powers people used to say that Birsa had. Now, Birsa himself declared that God has appointed him to save the people from trouble. He is going to save the people from trouble, and he is going to save them from slaveries of the Kus, that's the outsiders and the Britishers. And soon, children, thousands of people, they began following Birsa, believing that he was a god or a Bhagwan, and who had come to solve all their problems. Fine. Birsa, children, he was born in a family of Mundas. Munda is a tribal group which lived in Chota Nagpur. Fine. But his followers included other tribal. Now his followers, they included other tribals of the regions also, like Santals and the Orans. They were the other tribal groups. Fine. All of them, they were in different ways, they were unhappy with all the changes they were experiencing around them and the problems which they were facing under the British rule. Fine. Now, their familiar ways, their way of living was totally disappeared, which they were living previously. Their livelihoods, they were at threat now, and their religion also appeared to be in danger. So these were the problems which the tribal people, they were facing. Now, what problems did Birsa set out to resolve? Now, what were the problems that Birsa resolved? And children, who were the outsiders who were called Dikus, and how did they made the people of this region as their slaves, and what was happening in the tribal people when they were under the British rule, and how their lives changed. This all we are going to read in this chapter. Fine. Now, children, you may have read about the tribal societies in your previous class also. Fine. Most of the tribes, they have their own culture, customs, they have their own religions, and they are very different. Their cultures, their customs, their rituals, they are very much different from those which are made by the Brahmanas. Fine. Now, their societies, now these societies, that the tribal societies, they did not have sharp social division, so they do not have the differences. Fine. They are not characteristic of the caste societies. All those who belong to the same tribe, children, they share common ties of kinship. Fine. Now they all have common ties. Fine. They can marry in each other's tribe, and whatever land they have, they all have share in that land. Fine. However, this did not mean that there were no social and economic differences within the tribe, but still there were some social and economic differences within their tribe. Some were rich and some were poor. Now, how did tribal groups live? Now, we are talking about these tribal groups, children. We are going to learn how they were living. Fine. By the 19th century, tribal people in different parts of India, they were involved in a variety of activities. Fine. First activity we will talk about was the jhum cultivators. Fine. Some were the jhum, some tribal groups were the jhum cultivators. Now, what is the meaning of jhum? Fine, children, you have heard about the practice of shifting cultivation. Any time you might have heard. So that shifting agriculture's other name was jhum cultivation. Now, what was done? See, this was done on small patches of land, mostly in the forest. So they were living in the forest area. So this jhum cultivation was done on small patches of land, small area of land, and it was done in the forest. Fine. The cultivators, they used to cut the tree tops. Fine. They were not cutting the tree, but only the top of the tree, so that the sunlight could reach the ground, and they used to burn the vegetation. They used to clear the land for cultivation, and whatever ash was left behind after the fire, that contained potash, the ash contained the potash, and that was helpful in fertilizing the soil. And they use axes to cut trees, and they scratched the soil, and they prepared it for the cultivation. Fine. Then they used to scatter the seeds in the field. They were not plowing the land like we plow today. They were not sowing the seeds as we saw today. They were simply digging the land, and they were just scattering the seeds. Now, once the crop was ready, it was harvested, they used to move to the another field. Fine. Now they used to leave this cultivated area fallow. Fine, for several years. Means it was not cultivated for several years. It was left so that the soil can recover its fertility. Fine. Now shifting cultivators, they were found in the hilly forest tracts. Fine. And they were found in the northeastern and central India. Fine. Now these tribal people, children, they depended on free movements. They were moving freely within the forest, and they were able to use the land and forest for growing their crops. This was the only way they could practice shifting agriculture. Fine. This way they were doing shifting agriculture by moving from one place to another. Now, some of the tribal people, they were the hunter gatherers. Fine. They were hunting the animal, they were gathering the forest produce. Fine. They, they used to see the forest as very essential for their survival. They used to think that if the forest will not be there, we are not going to survive. The Gonds were such a community which were living in the forest of Orissas. Fine. Now they used to regularly went out, and they used to do collective hunts, and they used to divide the meat among themselves. They used to eat fruits, roots that were collected from the forest. They used to cook food, and they used to extract oil from sal and mahua seeds, and they used to use it in their cooking. Then forest shrubs and herbs they were using for their medicinal purposes, and they used to sold forest produce in the local market. Fine. The local weavers, and the leather workers turned to the Gonds, and they needed supply of kusum and palash flowers to color their clothes. So they were interchanging the things, like they were selling the forest produce in the market, and in return the market people, they were asking for potash and kusum. They were used to color the clothes and leather. Fine. Now, from where did these forest people get their supplies of rice and other grains? So, as we have discussed, they were exchanging the goods and they used to get in return whatever they required. Fine, in return of their forest produce, they used to get rice and whatever they needed. At other times, they used to buy goods, fine, in small quantities of earnings as they had. Whatever earnings they had, they used to buy things from. Sometimes they were doing odd jobs, children. Like they were working in the villages, they were carrying the loads, building roads. Sometimes they were working as a labor on the fields of peasants and farmers. When their supplies of the forest produce, sometimes the forest produce was shrinking. So at that time, these tribal people they used to wander around in search of work, and they used to work as laborers. Fine. Now the Baiga of central India, they were very egoist, and they used to say that they are not going to work outside the forest, they are going to work only within the forest, and it is against their dignity if they will be working as a laborer somewhere outside. Fine. So the tribal groups children they often needed to buy and sell in order to be able to get goods that were not produced within the locality. Now, whatever goods they were not getting in the forest, obviously they had to go and buy and selling. So they were depending on the traders and money lenders for this thing. So traders they came around the things and they used to sell the things at from them they used to get the things at low prices, and outside they used to bring the same goods at high price. Even the money lenders who were giving the loans to the tribal people when they needed cash, so they were also adding a lot of profits. They were getting a lot of interest charged on the loans, that was also too high. So the tribal people tribal for the tribals the market and the commerce often met debt and poverty. So they were in the vicious circle of all this, and therefore they can see the money lender and the trader as evil outsiders and cause of their misery. So they were becoming the cause of their miseries. Fine. Now some of the tribal people they were herding the animals also. So they used to herd and rear animals. They were pastoralists. They were moving from one place to another so that their herd, their cattle, their sheep, they used to get the food. Find the grasses. When they used to exhaust at one place, they used to move to the another place. So here are some examples. The one Gujars, they were in Punjab hills. The Labadis, they were in Andhra Pradesh. They were the cattle herders. Gadis, they were the Kullu shepherds. Bakkarwals, they were from Kashmir and they used to rear goats. Fine. So after that, children, this is not so important. Just take a look for this. Now, some of the tribal people they were the settled cultivation. They were doing. Some took to settled cultivation. Now they started settled. Even before the 19th century, many of the tribal groups they began settling down. Now they started settling down. They used to cultivate their land in one place year after year. Fine, instead of moving from place to place, now they were settling at one place. They were using the plow, and they got the rights over a land, and they used to live on it, and they were the Mundas of Chota Nagpur. They belong to the clan as a whole. Fine, they were the Mundas of Chota Nagpur. All the members of this clan, they all were the descendants and they were the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Therefore, all of them had right on the land. I told you, all of these tribes, they had, the whole tribe had the rights on the land. Fine. Very often, some people of the clan acquired more powers. Now, there are some people, those who have those who were having more powers than the others. They were the chiefs, and the other were the followers. So these powerful men, they used to rent a part of their land. Instead of cultivating themselves, they used to give it on rent to others. So British officials, they saw settled tribal groups like Gonds and Santals are more civilized, because they used to think that they are settling at one place, so they are civilized. Instead, those who are moving from one place to another, they used to see them as wild and savage. So they Britishers always wanted that the people should settle down. Fine. So instead of moving from here and there, from here to there, they needed to be settled and civilized. So, children, this was all about today's topic. Thank you and have a nice day.